They parked at the side of the church, and outside the church that day there was two junior football teams. So they walked with this bomb through a crowd of junior footballers, right past the greengrocers and into the fish shop. And before they could get putting the bomb down, the bomb exploded, killing one of the bombers, seriously injuring the other. It was a naked sectarian attack, and this was confirmed by the police.
Well, I can remember, Gary, that day. I mean, I was on the scene within probably 15 minutes, and I can remember looking at the bomb. And one of the things that really struck me was how that the roof of the building was still hanging by a thread, really. And yet, people like yourself and people like our good friend here, Jim Werner, who joins our feed, I mean, you were all in under that roof. And I mean, you were selfless because you weren't really caring about the building falling on you when you were digging through the rubble. Can you maybe tell me a wee bit about doing that? I mean, what did that feel like to be digging through and finding body parts and bodies?
It'll stick with me till the day I die, but there was another almighty crack. But what it was, as you mentioned, the roof had just managed to stay up, but it was the crack of the beam. But everyone thought it was a second bomb and started squealing. And everyone till a man that was inside the building that day just stayed with no thoughts for a second bomb. And you were digging and you were finding things that nobody should have ever found. The police and the firemen and the emergency service just hadn't arrived at that time when some of the stuff was found. You were just trying to cover it up with your t-shirt, or you were taking your own clothes off. There's many bombs that went off across the UK and Northern Ireland during the Troubles, but very, very few places was hit like the Shankill Road. If you take it less than a mile from the original first bomb, would have been a furniture shop in the 70s, to the Mountain View Bar, which is what maybe a stretch of road about a quarter of a mile. There was 6 bombs went off. It was all targeted at the Shankill community by the IRA, and a naked sectarian campaign, basically.
What really annoys me at the minute is that how they're permitted to get away with rewriting history, as if on one hand here we have these Irish freedom fighters who are fighting some sort of honourable war, but this is the reality. Well, hello and welcome to Friday night here at Restore. Going out live to Restore UK, also to the British Unionist People's Voice, to Forgotten Voices Media, all on Facebook, and also to Restore UK on YouTube. And the reason why we're here this evening, as you could hear, is tomorrow, the 23rd of October, is the anniversary of what became known as the Shankill Bomb. And as you'll have heard Gary Lenihan there talking about 5 bombs on the Shankill within a space of a lot of 100 yards, really. Perhaps a half a mile, should we say. But the 23rd of October in 1993, I mean, that's etched in the memories of many people that are living today, and many people actually remember that bomb for various reasons. Here at Restore UK, well, I mean, this is particularly important to us, let's just say, and in our memories. And why? Because, I was on the scene probably within about 15, perhaps 20 minutes of that bomb actually being detonated, and seeing the aftermath. And, I remember standing on the Shankill Road that day and looking at the rubble, looking at the people who were digging people out of the bomb, and thinking to myself that this has to stop, because people are recognizing no boundaries on the depths that they're prepared to stoop in order to get one over on the other community. And, how was that whenever, people, as you'll have heard Gary Lenihan speaking about it there, is that the bombers, they parked at the end of Berlin Street near the Berlin Arms. And what they did was they walked around past young children who would have been going to a football match, and they walked on, up the road, a few shops, let's just say, and one held the door open whilst they run into a fish shop, and they wanted to leave a bomb, but the bomb actually detonated whilst the man that was holding the holdall had it in his hand, and whilst the other guy was holding the shop door open, killing the bomber outright. and you know, wounding the guy that was holding the door open. And as you'll hear, we're not here for very, very long, but we're here to actually talk about the events of that day. And we're here, I guess, to remember the people of the Shankill Road on this anniversary. The anniversary, it comes in an hour on the 23rd of October in 1993. 9 innocent men, women, and children, they lost their lives, and to borrow some words from Gary Lanigan, in a naked sectarian attack. And that's exactly what it was, because yeah, of course there was a, you know, a place where their prisoners were taken to the maze on a Saturday morning. But you know, again, if you had listened to the full interview, and that was a cut part of the interview that we were talking about, is that Gary Lanahan, he had a like a news agents on the Shankill, and the bus that was going to the prison, they used to come and they used to get the newspapers from Gary, and that's all really that happened on a Saturday morning, was they were taking newspapers up. But what the IRA claimed was that um, they were trying to blow up a meeting of the UDA, the hierarchy in the UDA and the Shankill. But it wasn't the case that those people would have been meeting there. Sincerely, it was a naked sectarian attack. And look at the way it went. You know, as I say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, they were 9 innocent men, women, and children. So let's talk about the people out of that bomb, which I knew. I mean, I knew Michael Morrison. Who was Michael Morrison to me? Well, Michael Morrison grew up along with me. Michael Morrison was my brother's best friend. And, you know, Michael would have stayed with us at our home from, I guess, from I was about 7, maybe 8, growing up. And Michael went on to work for our family business. Michael became my partner in terms of I worked along with him for many, many years. Evelyn Bird, which was Michael's partner, you know, his girlfriend, his partner, he lived with her. They weren't married, but they had young children. And you know, Michael, they're Michael and Evelyn, his girlfriend, his partner, and also young Michelle, a young girl, only a child. They were out buying a wreath for Michael's father's funeral. Michael's father had just died, and they were down in to buy a wreath for Michael's father. And whenever they were in buying the wreath, well, that bomb happened and it killed those people outright. And you know, and I can remember back to those days. I can remember, you know, the coffins going down the Shankill Road, and I can particularly remember the coffins of Michael Morrison, Evelyn Bird, and young Michelle coming down the Forth River Road. I have to say, it's hard to talk about, but it's something that I will remember for the rest of my life. And then there's Jim Werner, one of our team here in the background. And, you know, as you'll have heard, Gary Lanigan, is that Jim and Gary were in under the bomb site, you know, and I mean, it blew the front face of the building off. And the roof, as you've heard me in that little interview with Gary Lanigan, the roof was hanging by. There was a beam which was holding the roof up, and the beam had actually broke and was sitting, you know, and it cracked, and it could have fell on top of the people that were there digging through the rubble, trying to save people. And yet those people, they stayed. They continued to dig, you know. It's a memory that will never, ever, ever go away. The 23rd of October in 1993, well, it'll be etched in my memory till the day I die. Now, I would like to read something for on behalf of Jim Werner. You might hear my voice. Okay, I'll be able to read it, but Jim couldn't have read this out for himself. So here goes. I would like to, for on behalf of Jim Werner, I would like to relate Jim's inner thoughts from the day that he was on the Shankill. He heard a bomb blast, and he was on the scene within minutes, digging through the rubble, trying to save people that was in that bomb. And what they would have seen whilst they were doing what they were doing would be enough to traumatize anyone for the rest of their lives. Let me read from what Jim has actually written. The 23rd of October 1993 was a day that changed so many lives. As the IRA ripped the heart out of the Shankill with a bomb, murdering 9 innocent people. Michael Marson, Evelyn Bird, Michelle Bird, Leon Murray, John Frizzell, Sharon McBride, George Williamson, Gillian Williamson, Wilma McKee. But beyond the death toll, the unseen consequences was the destruction of so many lives and families. There were also a lot of others injured, and I often wonder how many other people suffered. Ones that were, say, involved in the rescue. As I sit here with tears thinking of those people, no longer with us, my cousin Thomas Bingham, Aris Winters McBurney, who I helped carry an old lady to an ambulance, Sammy Spence, who all helped that day, and the many others. I know that they were all doing their bit to help. Sammy Spence was one of the people who helped me carry the bomber, Sean Kelly, across the Shankill to safety before the ambulances arrived. And from that day, when I heard he was the bomber, how did we not notice this? It has haunted me day after day, year after year, that I helped to save the life of the man that murdered 9 innocent men, women, and children. This is something I have to live with until the day I die. The memory, it never goes away. They're very, heartfelt words from Jim Werner. And I know that Jim suffers with PTSD as a result of what it was that he actually seen that day. You only have to talk about the Shankill Bomb, and Jim, well, you can see him shaking, and you just know that he is broken over what that it was that he seen that day. But as Jim says, he's not a victim. He's not a real victim. The people that lost their loved ones. Take, for example, now we've already talked about Michael Marson, Evelyn Bird, Michelle Bird. Take that lady, Gina McKee, Gary McKee, her son, and, the young lady, Leanne McKee, who was around at the shop and the bomb went off. When the bomb went off, it killed her outright. That was the honourable war that the IRA were engaged in. Yeah, they were freedom fighters, killing innocent men, women, and children in pursuit of a romantic dream of a new Ireland, or should we say, of what they believed at the time was a united Ireland. We could never unite with those people. Those people are unrepentant for what it is that they've done. Those people, they continue to agitate against the victims. Sean Kelly, for example. Sean Kelly, he went to the maze for what it was that he done on the 23rd of October in 1993. But he was released under the Good Friday Agreement, or should we say, the Good Friday Appeasement. He was released only to go on to continue to support terrorism. Didn't we see Sean Kelly eulogising Thomas Begley, the man that had the hold all that blew up in his hand? Didn't we see Sean Kelly at a memorial for Thomas Begley? Wasn't Sean Kelly returned to prison? Wasn't he let back out again? As it was conducive to keeping the IRA on board, is what they said at the time. Of course, we know what that means, that it was conducive to keeping the IRA appeased in this appeasement process, which has lasted from 1994 right through to the current day. Sean Kelly recently in a shop off Flack Street. Didn't we see video footage of the same man with an iron bar, or what looked like an iron bar? Didn't we see him in a way that he was threatening and being menacing to an individual, wanting to clobber someone with an iron bar? And yet, under the terms of his license, he should be put away. He should be locked up. And yet, this appeasement process will ensure and does ensure that Sean Kelly doesn't matter what he does or how he does it, he has immunity from prosecution. Effectively, people, he has an amnesty in a way that it is a gift that is forever giving. How do you think that makes the victims of the Shankill Bomb feel? I've talked to some of the victims. Michelle Williamson, for example. Michael Morrison's brother. I've talked to those victims, and it makes them sick to the pit of their stomach whenever they see the depths and the lengths that the establishment here have went in order to placate the IRA terrorists. And especially when those same IRA terrorists, whenever they have never ever said sorry for what it is that they have done. So remembering the victims of the Shankill Bomb on the 23rd of October in 1993, we think it is the best thing to do is to remember that those people, they were innocent victims going about their ordinary business, and the freedom fighters, the so-called freedom fighters, well, they were freeing Ireland, killing one innocent victim at a time. They done that under the banner of the Irish flag from the Irish state. And not once have we ever heard anyone from the Irish government say that, not in our name, this wasn't done under our flag. How dare you steal the name of the legitimate Irish army? Did you know that the legitimate Irish army, the Ugla Nahern, that's the name of the army of the Irish state, and yet the fake Ugla Nahern, the Gerry Adams conglomerate linked to Sinn Féin, well, not once have we ever heard the Irish state say, not in our name and not under our flag. So how could we reconcile with those people? How could we become involved in being united with those people? How could we ever become involved in a project of a new Ireland whenever the Irish state, not once, not ever, have they ever said that these people don't represent us? These people, they should be in jail. They should be locked up forever for what it is that they have done. It wasn't an honourable war. They weren't freedom fighters. They were terrorists, terrorising communities for political ends and for political means. Remembering the victims of the Shankill Bomb. Also, this evening, we wanted to talk about, we're not going to stay for long. So, sorry, Leon Murray. I must have said the wrong name there. Jim's just reminded me. We also, this evening, we want to touch on something that Dennis Hutchings would have said just a few nights ago. Dennis Hutchings, he made a speech, or he made a statement, let's just say, 3 weeks ago before his death. And in that statement, he had told us, and we didn't know until a few days ago, that he had only 6 months to live, and he came to Northern Ireland in order to try to clear his name. So what I want to do this evening is to, I guess, announce something that here at Restore, at Forgotten Voices Media, I wanted to announce something that we're going to become involved in. I would like for you to listen to words from Dennis Hutchings, and then we'll talk about what it is that we want to become involved in. Because we think, Dennis Hutchings' words were absolutely true, and they were right. And isn't it time that what it is that Dennis had called for in what he said 3 weeks ago before his death, isn't it time that these things were actually delivered? So let's listen to Dennis for a moment, and then we'll come back.
That if there was wrong done in the past, that people must be brought to justice.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And, but let's talk about justice for people, families and all that. But at the same time, let's talk about the justice for the 18 soldiers killed at Warren Point. Has there been an inquiry into that? No. What about the people that was killed at Inniskillen? Families, men, women, kids. Was there an inquiry into that?
What about the soldiers at Warren Point? What about the Enniskillen, the people at Enniskillen? Was there an inquiry into that? Let's just rewind that back again and just listen to Dennis.
All that. But at the same time, let's talk about the justice for the 18 soldiers killed at Warren Point. Has there been an inquiry into that? No. What about the people that was killed at Inniskillen? Families, men, women, kids. Was there an inquiry into that? Yeah. And plus the hundreds of other incidents that have gone on, committed by both sides, some of them, but they're not investigated the same as what they're trying to investigate the military who are sent here by the bloody government to do a job.
What, in your eyes, then, has led to this situation where soldiers are being brought back decades later?
Because we're easy targets. Everything, the soldier does, from the minute a round is fired, a shot is fired, it's reported over the radio. It's logged in a logbook in the control room. Then the conversations, as whatever happens, gets done exactly the same. So there's a record. Talking about the other side, the terrorist sides, there is no records. My consultant has given me roughly 6 months to live with the problems I've got. So that's why I want to get this done before I die.
So just listening to Dennis Hutchings there, his consultant had given them 6 months to live, and that's why he wanted to come to Northern Ireland to clear his name before that he died. And, I just see here something that I have to put up, and I've talked about this before. This lady, Sandra Rock, her brother, Samuel Rock, shot just up off the Upper Crumlin Road there in a case of mistaken identity. Terrorists, Republican terrorists, they shot this poor man, an innocent man. Never done any harm to anyone, was a worker. A man that went out and done his job every single day and didn't annoy anyone, got on with his life. And Republicans came knocking at his door one day, or I'm saying knocking at his door. Republicans actually murdered this man. What about an inquiry into this man's death? What about an inquiry into, as Dennis would have said, the soldiers at Narrowwater, at Warren Point? What about an inquiry into the Enniskillen bomb? What about an inquiry into, on the same day as the Enniskillen bomb? And this is something that not a lot of people know about, but there was another bomb, which was an even bigger bomb, set by the same people on the same day as the Enniskillen bomb, at a place called Tullyhummun, up at through Kesh on the border. And what about an inquiry into the people that done that? Well, of course, we know that we won't get an inquiry. And the reason why we won't get an inquiry is that these people have immunity from prosecution. These people have an amnesty. You see, that's what's sickening about this whole process. That's what makes this process, which was negotiated by the Ulster Unionist Party, firstly, then the DUP. And here we are in 2021 with the terrorists having immunity from prosecution, whilst the British Army, the law enforcers, are being persecuted and prosecuted, whilst the Shankill Bomb victims, they can't get any form of justice. Whenever the man, Sean Kelly, the bomber, he's let out of prison under licence, and he's rearrested, and he's let back out again because it would be conducive to stabilising the peace process. And then he goes on time and time again to be involved in terrorism or antisocial behaviour or in the support of terrorists. Do you know, can you see what we're saying here? That this is totally one-sided. Sandra Rock's brother, Samuel Rock, that man will never get justice, because these people are a protected species. And yet our mainstream politicians, the DUP, the UUP, the Conservative government, the Labour government, they champion this appeasement process as if that it is delivering fairness and equality to the people of Northern Ireland, when it's not. When it's not. This process has only one destination. And that destination is the complete betrayal of anyone that is British Unionist in Northern Ireland or across the United Kingdom. That's no matter why you're a military veteran, no matter why you were an RUC man who stood against these terrorists and gave your life and put yourself in danger to do so. That's no matter why that you were a UDR soldier, the Ulster Defence Regiment. That's no matter why you were outspoken against these Republican terrorists. You put your life in danger to do this, and yet you are betrayed by your own. It's kind of it's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. And you know that it only goes on whilst that we let it go on. It only goes on whilst our politicians continue to hold it up, to work alongside it for their own selfish gain, I add, for their own selfish ends. People need to stand against these politicians. People need to ensure that these politicians get up off their knees and they mount a fight back in a meaningful, proactive way, in order that we're either going to have justice for all, or we're not. This appeasement process has to stop, and it has to stop now. Republicans in the Mid-Ulster area alone have 50 cases ready and waiting to go. Who's those cases going to be against? They're going to be against anyone that stood against terrorism in that area. That's just in Mid-Ulster. I am told, and this is a figure that was given to me just a few days ago, that there is just over 1,000 cases which is in the making and in the all ready to go, that is being brought by the agitations of Republicans in the background, who they have immunity from prosecution, they have comfort letters, they have Queen's pardons, they have effectively, people, an amnesty for what it is that they done, and yet they continue to stir up and to wind up and to agitate in the background in a way that destabilizes and in a way that threatens the people who would have stood against them. I say this again, this has to stop. And how do we stop it? Well, we can't stop it by approaching the British government. We can't stop it by approaching the terrorists, because they're not going to stop. The only way to stop it is to stop our politicians from facilitating it. And that, people, is absolutely within our gift to do. Remembering the victims of the Shankill Bomb. Gone but not forgotten. A day that will be etched in the memory of very, very many people. I'm going to play us out again with Gary Lenihan talking about the Shankill Bomb. Thanks very much for coming along. I thought that it was fitting to do this evening. I waited until that Valerie and Roy, they had finished their stream at the Ulster Bands Forum in order to do this. Once again, thanks for coming along. Thanks for supporting us at Restore, at the Forgotten Voices Media, and at the British Unionist People's Voice. I really, really appreciate that you've came along to do this. And, we're going to renew our commitment to the people that comes and watches here each and every week. And our commitment is this, is that we will leave no stone unturned in order to highlight what it is that these Republicans are responsible for. We will leave no stone unturned in order to highlight the inactions, the inabilities, the unwillingness of your own politicians to stand against this. We will leave no stone unturned to ensure either fairness for all, in where that either Sandra Rock gets justice for her brother, or no one gets justice. And right now they're talking about, that there shouldn't be a statute of limitations for military veterans. And there's a lot of military veterans that would say that they don't want a statute of limitations. But I'm going to say something. The only way to stop these Republican vermin from agitating in the background to create more cases against more military veterans, against more law enforcers, against loyalists, the only way to stop this is for a line to be drawn. Now, that might be unpalatable for a lot of the victims. And don't fall out with me if you're a victim and if you want justice for your family. But people, ask yourself a serious question. Is it fair that the Republicans have immunity from prosecution, that they have an amnesty, and that they use their cover of having the on-the-run letters, the Queen pardons, the amnesty that they were offered by Tony Blair, they use that cover to agitate in a way that they know that they'll never be prosecuted? It is that needs to be stopped. If there's another way, tell me. I don't know how to do it, but believe me, it needs to be rectified, and it needs to be rectified very, very soon. So remembering Samuel Rock, remembering the victims of the Shankill Bomb, remembering everyone, each and every person that was murdered, that lost their lives as a result of the dirty little war that was waged in Northern Ireland. And what was it waged for? Well, it was waged for political ends. The IRA, the victims, the freedom fighters, the so-called freedom fighters, well, they killed more of their own people than anyone else did. They were freeing Ireland, one Catholic, one nationalist at a time. They were freeing Ireland, one innocent child, one innocent person at a time, 9 innocent people at a time if we look at what happened on the Shankill Road on the 23rd of October in 1993. That is a day that will be etched in my memory, I guess, until the day I die. So, people, thanks very much for coming along. Leave your messages in the live chat. Please ask people to join with us here at Restore. Thank you, Wilson. I know that you come here very often. I really do appreciate that. And I know that there's many other people just like you. And, you know, why do we do this? We do this because we care. We do this because we are not second-class citizens. We do this because we're not prepared to let republicanism have the upper hand. We either have fairness or we don't. We either have a level playing field or we don't. We either get justice, we either get equality, or our politicians get a war. And when I say they get a war, I mean a war against them, because it is their inabilities, it is their unwillingness, it is their inactions that has brought us to this spot. Years and years and years of turning a blind eye to this evil Republican machine has led us to this point. It was never nipped in the bud, people. Politicians taking the coin and not doing the job that they were put in place to do. Well, it has to change. It will change. And if we've anything to do with it, it's going to change. Thanks very much, people, for coming along. I really do appreciate the very fact that there are so many people that leave us these messages of support. Again, this stream is about remembering the Shankill Bomb. We're going to play us out with a clip from the Shankill Bomb. Now, again, we're going to do something in the memory also of Dennis Hutchings. We're going to look at the Narrowwater bomb. That was the Warren Point bomb, and where many military veterans lost their lives. We're going to look at that. We're going to dig deep. You know, we've lots of resources to be able to dig deep, and we're going to be highlighting, and I mean highlighting, what it was that happened there. And we're going to be digging deep in order to see what it is that we can divulge in a way that we won't get ourselves in trouble. So let's start by doing that. The Enniskillen bomb, the anniversary of the Enniskillen bomb is coming very soon. Tullyhammon, if that bomb had went off that day, which was just up the road in Pettigo, just on the Fermanagh, Donegal border, if that bomb had went off that day, it would have killed a pipe band, it would have killed a small amount of military veterans at a Remembrance Day event, and it would have killed a huge amount of children from the Boys Brigade and from the Girls Brigade. That bomb would have, I would have said it would have shocked the world. But why did it not go off? Not a lot of people knows this, but there was another bomb on the same day, which was bigger, on the day of the Enniskillen bomb. But why did that bomb not go off? Well, as the story goes, a tractor ran over the command lead and damaged the command wire, and the bomb couldn't detonate. It wasn't for the want of those IRA terrorists wanting to murder those children. People, we have to show the world what these people are. They are evil terrorist scum. That's what they are. They don't deserve anything more than that title. And again, I say that if you're a nationalist, if you're a Catholic, and if you're watching this, surely you can see what it is that we are saying. Surely you understand that Jean McConville, for example, well, she, did she deserve to be taken away and buried and disappeared, never to be found for many, many years at the hands of Republican terrorists? These people are parasites, nothing else, nothing less than parasites. People, thanks very much for coming along. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Look, and if you can help our work, I'm popping this up. There's a little PayPal link. We here at Restore, at Forgotten Voices Media, we do the 2 channels. We have purchased some very, very good video making equipment, let's just say. And we're going to be getting out and about around the towns, the streets and the cities, telling the stories, the likes of Sandra Rock's story there and her brother's story. You know, the stories like about the Shankill Bomb, the stories like with reference to the Shankill Bomb, the stories like what could have happened on the border at Petticoat and Donegal if the IRA terrorists had had their way, where they would have murdered and maimed many, many children from the British Unionist population here in Northern Ireland. And it was said that they were doing that as a form of ethnic cleansing. They were trying to rid the few British Unionists from Petticoat by doing that. These people are evil to the core, absolutely evil to the core. And a testament to how evil these people are, well, let's listen once again to Gary Lenigan as we close. People, we're not going to stay this evening. We're going to let you hear the testament by Gary Lenigan as he talks about the day that he was on the scene of the Shankill Bomb, just 100 yards up the road, and he'll tell you exactly what happened on that day. Thanks very much for coming along. Neil Tattersall, thanks very much. I do see that your comments was in the live chat. I'm sorry that I'm just going to go back and I'm going to look for this before I go. There we go. Neil, I'm going to make contact with you again. I would like for you to come on yet again, Neil, on the 3rd of December, if that's okay. And let's talk about your story. Neil, make contact with us. I'll make contact with you. Neil has a powerful story to tell. And Neil, another innocent man, and I'm going to use Neil's words. He was blown up by people that he didn't know from a land that he had never been. I think that was your words, Neil. Or that might have been another Englishman's words, again, another innocent man. But look, Neil has a powerful story to tell. And Neil, I do hope that you come along on or in and around the 3rd of December as a one-to-one to tell your story. Thanks very much, Neil, for joining us once again. People, make Neil feel welcome here at Restore UK. Neil is another innocent victim of IRA terrorism. He was blown up in one of the Manchester bombs. Yeah, what did we say? All that's left to do is for me to commit on behalf of Dennis Hutchings that we're going to look into both the Narrowwater and also the Enniskillen bomb. God bless Dennis Hutchings. People, playing us out with this testament from Gary Lenihan. And then what I will do is I'm going to play also a little bit of testimony by Neil Tattersall. And then the screen will be finished. And again, once again, if you can help fund what it is that we do, you know, whether it helps us with equipment or for travel or whatever, you know, we fund this ourselves, but you know, there are costs to doing this. But you know, yeah, every little helps. Let's just say there's a PayPal link in the live chat if you can help with our work. So playing us out with, first of all, Gary Lenihan, and then we're going to play Neil Tattersall, tell him a little bit about his story, and I hope to see Neil at the start of December. People, thanks very much for coming along, and we'll see each and every one of you next week. Remembering the Shankill Bomb first, and then over to Neil Tattersall.
They parked at the side of the church, and outside the church that day there was 2 junior football teams. So they walked with this bomb through a crowd of junior footballers, right past the greengrocers and into the fish shop. And before they could get putting the bomb down, the bomb exploded, killing one of the bombers seriously injured the other. It was a naked sectarian attack, and this was confirmed by the police.
What I can remember, Gary, of that day, I mean, I was on the scene within probably 15 minutes, and I can remember looking at the bomb, and one of the things that really struck me was how that the roof of the building was still hanging by a thread, really. And yet, people like yourself and people like our good friend here, Jim Werner, who joins our feed, I mean, you were all in under that roof, and I mean, you were selfless because you weren't really caring about the building falling in use when you were digging through the rubble. Can you maybe tell me a wee bit about doing that? I mean, what did that feel like to be digging through and finding body parts and bodies?
It'll stick with me till the day I die. But there was another almighty crack. But what it was, as you mentioned, the roof had just managed to stay up, but it was the crack of the beam. But everyone thought it was a second bomb and started squealing. And everyone till a man that was inside the building that day just stayed with no thoughts for a second bomb. And you were digging and you were finding things that nobody should have ever found. The police and the firemen and the emergency service just hadn't arrived at that time when some of the stuff was found. You were just trying to cover it up with your t-shirt, or you were taking your own clothes off. There's many bombs that went off across the UK and Northern Ireland during the Troubles. But very, very few places was hit like the Shankill Road. If you take it less than a mile from the original first bomb, would have been a furniture shop in the 70s, to the Mountain View Bar, which is maybe a stretch of road about a quarter of a mile. There was 6 bombs went off. It was all targeted at the Shankill community by the IRA, and a naked sectarian campaign, basically.
What really annoys me at the minute is that how they're permitted to get away with rewriting history, as if on one hand here we have these Irish freedom fighters who are fighting some sort of honourable war, but this is the reality.
As I say, I mean, we didn't think for 1 minute that anything was going to happen. We thought we were going to get a free day off work, you know. And then, as I say, I was sat on the wall, and I jumped down off the wall, and as I turned around, that's when the bomb went off. And I actually thought the bomb was in the building, and later found out that the bomb was behind the wall that I was sat on. So how I got off that, before it went off, I don't know. And then just pandemonium. The building just came crashing down on top of us. And instinctively, the thing to do was to cover your head. But then, obviously, I felt an almighty thud in the bottom of my back. It was like somebody had really punched me hard in the bottom of my back. And I just saw people running, so I thought, well, that's what I've got to do. I managed to get up onto my feet, but I couldn't get even 2 steps away. And I just froze and I couldn't move. Two people came on either side of me and started dragging me off. And then the police took over, and I was outside Lloyd's Bank, but they couldn't move me any further than that. And then one of the police officers actually took whatever was in my back out my back. And then a bomb disposal guy came down, and he said that there was a bomb inside Lloyd's Bank and that they'd move away from the scene. So the police responded, we're not leaving because, we're not leaving him. And his response was, well, leave him because he's dying anyway, you know. And obviously hearing that wasn't a very good thing, you know. They couldn't get an ambulance into me because the place was all sealed off. And eventually one of the police officers went off and brought an ambulance in with the crew. He said that they would come in and get me. And then obviously I was rushed into Manchester Royal Infirmary.